Hello, today we will be looking at Cambridge IGCSE Music for 2025. So last year I made a short video on what it would look like to do the syllabus and the exam in 2024, and not much has changed for the syllabus for 2025. In fact, nothing has changed except for the fact that 2025 will be the last year that we are going to be following this current syllabus. So yes, from next year, 2026 onwards, there will be a different syllabus, and the guide for that and the years 2026 through 2028 is already up on the Cambridge School Support Hub. So if you would like to go ahead and look at that, you may, but do be very sure that for 2025, the syllabus is going to be exactly the same as it has been for the past few years. So in a nutshell, for Cambridge IGCSE Music, you will either be taking the course for a year or a year and a half, depending on your institution or the teachers through which you take the syllabus. Then you will have 3 components which you need to fulfill the requirements, those being component 1, component 2, and component 3, of course. So component 1 is listening or the listening paper. Now this will count 40% of your total mark. The paper is merely a 75-minute or an hour and 15-minute listening paper, and it is a formal written examination based on audio recordings provided to us or provided to the Cambridge exam centres by Cambridge International, and this is externally assessed, meaning the papers will be shipped off somewhere to be marked, and they will also be scanned in for any types of moderation purposes. So this is why we don't write in the margins and we write in pen, because once a scanner scans it, it still needs to be clear. So component 1 will officially be added to Cambridge International's timetables according to zones. However, components 2 and 3 will not be officially on the timetable of Cambridge, but it is up to your Cambridge Examination Centre to get these exams done, to get invigilators, to get markers, to get everything admin-wise sorted, for all the logistics to be completed by basically the time that Cambridge exams will have officially started. So components 2 and 3 are your practical components, component 2 being performing. Now performing will count 30% towards your total mark. Here you have to have 2 recorded prepared performances, one being an individual performance piece, so on your solo instrument, and one being an ensemble piece. Now at IGCSE level, you don't have to present everything on a single instrument. For instance, if you play violin and piano, you don't have to just play violin for your solo work and your ensemble work. You can do a solo on piano and you can do a violin ensemble work, or you can do a mixed ensemble work wherein you just play the violin part. But that is up to you. You may present more than one instrument at IGCSE level. The main thing that needs to be done is a solo piece, an ensemble piece. You can't do 2 solos, you can't do 2 ensemble pieces. That's just the rule at this level. And then this will be internally marked, meaning your Cambridge Examination Centre will have markers. They will actually give you the marks, and then Cambridge will externally moderate this and change anything if there are any discrepancies, or if they find that the internal markers have given you too low marks or given you too high marks. And this is all based just on audio recordings. So your solo work, your ensemble work, they will only be audio recordings. No need to see your face, no need to see anything, they only need to hear you. And basically the internal markers will verify that yes, it was you playing, yes, it is you playing, that nothing else has taken place, but it is you and officially you on the recordings. Then lastly, we have component 3 being composing. This also counts 30% towards your total mark. And here, yet again, it is internally marked and externally moderated. Same thing with the performing. So with the composing, you have to submit 2 audio recordings of your compositions. So again, 2 things. Here you have to compose 2 contrasting works or compositions. And by contrasting, they merely mean it can contrast in style, it can contrast in instrumentation. They're not too fussed at this level, and they don't actually give a time limit or a time restriction, which for me is very weird, because at AS level they say between 2 to 4 minutes total, meaning that your 2 compositions combined at that level, you would have to submit something that is no less than 2 minutes long in performance time and no more than 4 minutes long in performance time. But they don't have any restrictions at IGCSE level So technically you can compose a 4.5-minute thing or a 30-second thing, and they just assess it that way. And I have asked questions about this on various online courses as well as on various Cambridge music forums. But yes, the whole idea at this level is just to get you composing. I wouldn't say that a longer composition would get you more marks. That's not true. It's definitely about your style, how you compose, because if you're just going to compose a minimalistic piece just because, not for any intellectual reason, but just because you don't know what else to do and you're just going to extend it for 5 minutes long, that won't be getting as much as a shorter composition that really goes through all the motions, correct in style, correct in instrumentation balance, whatnot. So this one is a bit of a tricky component, I would say, but do work closely with your teachers in regards to this so that you can get your maximum marks possible. Now do remember that you yourself do not have to play your compositions live, but Cambridge does give you the option of having your compositions performed by real musicians, audio recordings of course, only audio at this level, and then they also give you the option of having a electronic submission. So that means any MIDI recording from maybe Sibelius, MuseScore, Finale, or you can have a combination of the two, and that's great. So at this level, that's what we're going to submit, all audio recordings. Like I said, no visuals required. So let's proceed to take a deeper dive into each of these components. So back to component 1. Of course, we know this is our written/listening exam, and this will take place together in one venue. So everyone is going to listen to the same recording. It is a measured exam, a timed exam, because everyone needs to answer the same questions at the same time. You cannot go ahead in a paper like this. There are 4 sections in this paper, section A, B, C, and D, but you have to answer everything in order. Everything is systematic. So it's a little bit different to maybe any of your other papers at this level, because you can't go ahead, you can't go back, because you just have to be in the moment with this paper. And if you've been here long enough, you know that I like to say that the IGCSE paper is very unpredictable. It's kind of like a gamble. You study so many things in this course, and then when you get to the exam, all the testing on this will just be unpredictable. You don't know what they're going to throw at you, and you can only answer according to what you are hearing. For instance, if you are very well versed in Baroque music, and then in your unprepared Western repertoire section, they only give you 20th century music and romantic music, too bad, you can't showcase your knowledge on Baroque. But that's okay, we have the next levels of music to do so. And also, the whole point of Cambridge music is the journey. It's not necessarily the end point, and it's not necessarily all to do with the exam. It's not about you, it is about your journey. And I would say that hopefully through your journey of IGCSE music, you would have learned the most, and that you can actually apply this to your everyday musical experiences, and that you can just take it with you. And no matter what you get to showcase or not showcase in the exam, that what will matter is your actual experience throughout the course. So in a nutshell, the audio extracts in sections A, B, and C will each be played 4 times, accompanied by 4 silences, in which you will get to answer and write down your answers to the questions. And then extracts in section D will only be played twice, followed by 2 silences, so that you can answer your questions there. Section A has everything to do with unprepared Western repertoire, and it counts 16 marks out of the 70-mark paper. Here the section will be divided into section A1 and section A2, each of which will count 8 marks. Here you will receive extracts from 2 works which may be instrumental and or vocal music, which may be composed in the Baroque, Classical, Romantic, and 20th century music periods. So here candidates may be asked questions about rudiments of music, melody and rhythm, harmony, ensembles, instruments, instrumental effects, structure, compositional devices, texture, style or genre, and anything else that is appropriate or relevant to the music at hand. You may also explicitly be asked to identify the period of music to which they have given you the audio, and you may also be asked to suggest a possible composer of that time period. So anything and everything is possible in section A, according to Western music. Section B has everything to do with world music, and its total will be 22 marks out of the 70-mark paper. So out of the 7 world music genres that we are asked to study for the year, we will have 6 of them being a possibility for us in sections B1 as well as B2. Here in the section as a whole, you will encounter 3 pieces of music. So in section B1, you will get an audio extract played 4 times, section B2, an audio extract 4 times, and section B3, an audio extract 4 times. So 2 pieces of music, B1, B2, with 6 marks each, will be selected from African, Arab, Latin American, Chinese, Japanese, Indian, and Indonesian traditions. Here you might also be asked to identify the origin, country, continent, music style, from where the music comes. And then yet again, there are so many world music genres. If they only ask you 2 and you know something about a different world music genre, you unfortunately can't showcase your knowledge in this paper. Section B3 will be your world music focus. So of course, every year there is a different world music focus. 2025 will be the last world music focus year. And this year has everything to do with Chinese music. So I have already posted a video outlining everything that Cambridge would like us to know for our world music focus for 2025. So do be sure to check out that video. The link is definitely in the description below. So section B3 will be the section that counts the most in the paper thus far. 10 marks for this very subsection. Section C has everything to do with a skeleton score. And this will also count 16 marks out of the full 70-mark paper. Here you'll get a single extract with a single skeleton score. You may be expected here to do a simple rhythmic and or melodic dictation. You may also be required here to identify the period or a composer that this music may likely be composed by. But also you just have to have your beautiful oral listening ears on to answer any type of question that may be thrown at you. So no different from the rest of the paper because you are listening the whole exam through. But for section 3, you are really the most unprepared for, because at least section A, you know, your Western music, you would have studied well for it. Section B, your world music, you would have studied well for it. Section D, coming after this, set works. But section C, you really are totally unprepared for. They can throw you anything. Then section D, we have our set work. This now counts 16 marks out of a total of the 70-mark paper, and you are only required to have prepared 1 set work here. And of course, Cambridge always gives 2 options for every year. This year, the 2 options are Beethoven Symphony No. 5, the 3rd and 4th movement, and Haydn's Trumpet Concerto in E-flat major. So for your chosen work, you will hear 2 separate extracts, and a skeleton score of your extract will be provided for you in your question paper. You'll be expected to answer questions on any aspect in the music in the extract, whether or not it is actually shown in a skeleton score, because you would have studied the set work in detail. You should know it so well that if you hear any given extract, you should be able to identify, oh, I know the spot, I know what came just before it, I know what comes just after it, and any of those things may apply to you in the questions that they give you. So that wraps it up for component 1. Component 2, performing. So the rules for Cambridge, it says that candidates must sing or play individually. Number 1, either 1 piece or 2 short contrasting pieces on the same instrument. And then number 2, they should sing or play in an ensemble. So either 1 or 2 short contrasting pieces, which should be on the same instrument here, but does not have to be the same instrument as with the individual performance. Okay, so those are your requirements. And the total playing time should be between 4 to 10 minutes, recorded audibly. Now, for IGCSE level, you should be minimum grade 4 level on your practical standard, so you can measure yourself by either playing pieces from those specific grades or upwards from the Trinity or Royal Schools syllabi, but you can also just check with your teacher whether you are on standard or not. And if you do play below standard, you definitely will be penalized, maybe not by much, but you definitely should be aiming to play at least grade 4 level for your IGCSE practical exams. Then moving on to component 3, composing. You should submit 2 compositions, as we said before. They should be written for different combination of instruments and or voices, and this must also be recorded or have audio tracks submitted for evidence. Cambridge definitely would like to check that if this is real, if it is playable, that you're not writing something silly like below middle C for a flute. You definitely have to know what's going on, and that is why it is beautiful to have live musicians perform your pieces, whether it be your friends or whether it be some university students that you ask to play for you. It really is good to have it performed in real life. Just submitting a MIDI track is not the worst thing possible, but it doesn't give you a real life idea of whether what you're writing is possible or possibly good and musically beautiful on stage. I must say that the candidates who choose to have their compositions performed live and recorded live, they glean much from the experience, and they also know, oh, next time I can rather do this, or next time I know this will work and this won't work, and they get better ideas from actually having that experience than just submitting MIDI tracks. So some extra rules regarding Cambridge now. Composition 1 must be written in a Western tonal system and style, and demonstrate familiarity with the basic principles of traditional harmonic language. This composition must be fully notated using staff notation, you know, how we usually read and write sheet music, and must be submitted with the recording. So yeah, you can use any of the previously mentioned compositional notation programs such as Finale, Sibelius, MuseScore. You can even use other lesser known ones like Crescendo, and I'm sure there are many others, but as long as it is typed out neatly and looks like good old sheet music, you're good to go for composition 1. Now, composition 2 may be in any style of the candidate's choice, contrasting, remember, and it may be notated in any form of notation that is appropriate to the music. Now, of course, you can definitely use your Western notation here again. Most candidates do. But for instance, if you're doing something very electronic, if you actually want to type out sort of a storyline, or sort of have it in graphic form, or even have it in written type picture form, any of the above may do, but it has to be systematic. You can't just be pulling off nonsense over here. It has to make sense, and you have to know how to read it, your teacher has to know how to read it, the markers have to know how to read it, and then most definitely the moderators at Cambridge would have to know how to read it. So just to be clear, if staff notation is not used here, the intentions of the notation must be clearly explained in an accompanying commentary. The score and commentary, if applicable, must be submitted with a recording. So no shortcuts here. I actually think that this is a more difficult approach, because you definitely have to make your intentions known and what you're writing, like how to even read what you're writing or presenting. So do be wise when going into these things. Don't think, oh, this seems like an easier way out. No, it's not. It is actually more tricky. But either way, you are going to decide along with your teacher what you are going to do, what you are going to submit. And then you have to be sure to regularly check on the Cambridge Samples Database to be able to find out when and how to submit all candidates' work for coursework purposes and for moderation purposes to Cambridge. Remember that all these things need to be physically couriered off to Cambridge, and it needs to be done by a certain date, and usually this date is before the official Cambridge written examinations. Everything that's on the timetable officially will begin. Remember that also at IGCSE level, all your audio recordings need to be physically burned onto CD discs and couriered off to Cambridge, or they just need to be copy pasted onto a flash drive, and that physical flash drive also needs to be couriered off to Cambridge. At the moment, they don't have any uploads for us, but hopefully in the future they will, because we are definitely in 2025 now, so we need to get with the times. But I do hope that this video has helped you understand what is expected of you for Cambridge IGCSE Music 2025. All the best with your coursework and your examinations for this year.